What are the biggest risks right now? If somebody asks you like what's keeping you up at night, what's the biggest risk?
I think that my biggest risk is just making sure that I might get a huge donation or something or a new business or nonprofit partner that's massive, that then it lets me know that, okay, I need to grow staffing wise too in order to keep up with that. But other
Sure.
than that, like that's pretty much it that keeps me up. Well, I am GGirls Closet. What we are the first for-profit here in Colorado to make a pillar between ARC and Goodwill, where we actually become that donation pillar hub. But we are a for-profit that only consigns Title I schools, nonprofits, and businesses. And so therefore, they get 40% back of all their consignment accounts. And it's really cool because people can come and actually choose who they want to support, and then they get their clothing nuggets. We also do support super seniors. So we work contracts with APS schools where we actually teach super seniors about overconsumption, recycling, fast fashion. And basically, my mission is just to change the shopping habit of the next gen. So thrifting.
Nice. Awesome. Awesome. Very cool. So let's go back. What is the origin story? How did you get into this? What's the background? How did you go from that idea to where you are right now?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Fuzzy. Yeah, no, actually, I've been in the biz for over 11 years. Started my first storefront when I was 25. Ended up buying out an actual old store that was rebranded it, rebranded it, and then brought it back to life. And then what I did was I realized back in 2013, I was always constructed on just a small little squares footage space. So in 2014, we launched our e-com stores, which making us the first hybrid back there off of Broadway in Denver, Colorado. We became a hybrid shop. So we started selling all the way online, which means we opened up the footprint worldwide, which means we were able to recycle even more clothing. But at the same time, it also ended up growing my stance there. Then I was able to open up a little warehouse, and now I have women. I'm women owned, women operated. And what I love is that in 2020, I was able to sit down with Title I's and schools and administrators and be able to get contracts to where we do clothing drives with their schools, kicking back checks, and then being able to generate profit for the community through the power of resale. So, and I did this all without literally no school background under me. I actually graduate next semester from MSU with my business communications degree, but I did it backwards because I felt like in life, sometimes we get the most tangible information of business through the actual world of doing business. Like that's
Sure.
how we grow. And to evolve as leaders, we have to learn to stay ahead of what the chain is coming down. So for me, I realized opening up hybrid style was the only way I'd be able to reach a mass audience.
That's very cool. So, what made you though want to get into this? Is this a passion that you had earlier in life? Just why did you want to take on this type of a mission with what you're working on?
Well, I grew up and I was actually internationally adopted when I was 3. I was brought here to the US from Honduras. And my mom and I was raised by a single mom. And so
Mm,
back then, we thrifting was our thing. Like we didn't, have the luxury goods. And so for me, I learned a lot back then about clothing and the resale part of it and how you can regenerate and rejuvenate a life of a piece of clothing. And
mhm,
then when I started getting older, when in my young 20s, when I came to the city, I started doing a lot of environmental stuff, started learning a
mm,
lot about the landfills and the
mhm.
overconsumption. And then I started learning about vintage clothing. And that's like my biggest thing right there is vintage. One, it's craftsmanship. You don't get that these days. So for me, it was more of a passion of one, I'm just trying to save the landfills and earth, one piece of clothing
Sure.
at a time. But also then I started realizing how much overconsumption there is here in the local city of a metro area. And I realized, you know what? There's a way to create collaborations through businesses and collaborations through schools and be able to show people the power of resale through fundraising in that aspect. And that's when I started getting creative. So for me, it was more of the passion of just honestly saving Earth. Like I'm a huge Earth buddy. I love hiking. I love like grounding. So for me, it was more about just trying to keep that passion alive.
So how do you think about competition in your space? Is competition in your mind TikTok shop, people going on and buying, $20 things and having it shipped over here? Is it the Goodwills? Is it no competition at all? You're just trying to kind of be in the middle of all of this consumption. So how do you sort of think about competition when you're talking about what you do?
When I think about my competition, I actually like how I created something so unique that there really isn't any competition. Because I am the for-profit. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm a for-profit that actually ended up being able to see the way that we could do partnerships. And what I love about it is that I'm only growing. I'm growing. I'm actually in demand and I'm understaffed and in demand. Let's just say that. And what I love about it is that it's such a unique concept. It's a concept that not only allows us to be a shell for like, nonprofits and clothing and recycling and all that, but it also is a concept that allows people to pick and choose who they want to support rather than just having an ARC or a Goodwill. Don't get me wrong. They are massive and they're huge. But for me, it's not about being competition, for me, I'm so in such a beautiful, loving playing field that for me, it's just about keeping up with the demand of growth. So it's just more about bringing on more nonprofits, bringing on more space, bringing on, taking over. I mean, eventually it'd be taking over abandoned buildings and transforming them into mini hubs,
Hmm.
being able to utilize space that is already here, but rejuvenating it back to the community.
Gotcha. Gotcha. If somebody asked you, like, well, what is the product that you're really selling right now? How would you describe that product? That maybe somebody would be investing in or thinking about, like, is it the actual space? Is it just the processes of the partnerships? What is the product in all of this?
Product in all this is actually all of your donated goods. So I get
Mm.
donations in from like Neiman Marcus, sometimes stores, sometimes, individuals. We are also we also are like a pawn shop style. So people can come in residentials, they can sell and trade. What I love is that it gives people not only designer goods, you're talking all the way from your Chanel's, Prada's, Louis Vuittons, all the way down to even your basic, Skechers, stuff like that. But it's good used quality stuff. So it's used goods, but the goods are always going to be high margins because they're going to be either name brands. And then whatever we don't use or utilize, we literally just recycle back to some of our nonprofits who clothe the homeless. So it's not going into a bin or a trash or anything like that. It's getting literally recycled through the community. And so what the investors would be doing here is they would be helping us not only attain more storage space on the next suite, but it actually would build out a working station for the youth. Unfortunately, right now, the youth and I literally work out of bins and work on the floors, and kind of it would give them an ability to have a desk as well as ability to have a TV to actually work off of and learn from, since they kind of work off their phones when they learn a lot about our courses and recycling videos. So it would actually give them a unique workstation, which is what they do need. And then it also would provide us with a commercial vehicle. The reason why the commercial vehicle is very vital for us is because we have a lot of people who cannot come to us because we're strictly just located here in this brick and mortar in Aurora. So it would
Hmm.
allow us to actually come to our clients, pick up from our clients, as well as the one thing when it comes to services for the underrepresented community is it's not that the services aren't there, it's the lack of transportation. So it would allow us to pick up the youth to bring them to the courses, to and back, so they would have permit transportation. So really the investors would be helping us not only keep up with the demand, but would actually close a gap of transportation for us and also help close a gap of giving them proper workstations.
Gotcha. Very cool.
Yeah.
How do you manage inventory, production, supply chain? Just how do you manage that, considering that you really don't know what might be coming in next week, right? So how do you sort of think about that?
Exactly. So thank you, Mr. Fuzzy, for that question. Yeah, no, that is definitely the biggest thing is called organization, and that is the back end. So we have a really good system that we acquired back in 2013. So it's a Consign Pro system that allows us to do the consignment accounts for all of our partners. And then it's also live feed. So they're able to log into their account. They're able to see everything live feed stream. I have a really good assistant who helps me do a lot of things where, the whole tangible task of sorting, and then we have to get it onto ecom because ecom is a whole
Hmm.
nother subject. But we
Hmm.
outsource that. So I'm able to outsource that and get that to other listers. So all we do is really provide photos. They do the back end logistics when it comes to actually getting those online. Now, pulling orders, that's also what it falls on us and the staff here at the store. But that's also one thing that the investors would be helping with is that pulling process and that inventory process, because then we can go more digital. Right now, we're doing a lot of things by hand and it's
Mm.
really, really time tasking.
Sure.
So if we can get the investors would also help with us getting an actual digital POS system, which would allow things to be more digitalized in the store rather than just on the website and online in the back end there. So yeah, it's been a tedious process, but it is really good bookkeeping, an amazing CFO who is completely on me 24/7, and honestly, an amazing assistant. So if it wasn't for the Tiki tribe of the community I have, I probably wouldn't have been able to keep up with where I'm at.
That's cool. Well, let's talk maybe about maybe that more CFO vibe here. Let's talk about maybe financial metrics. What does customer acquisition kind of look like in your space? Lifetime value. What are some of the metrics that you're measuring right now, so you are seeing growth as opposed to maybe just staying above water? So how does that look right now?
Exactly. Well, here's the neat thing of how I've kept my metrics growing and growing. We actually grew 28% last year and we're on project to grow to 38% this year. Annually, the resale business grows about 9% nationwide. It just depends on your local boutiques. Now, for me, the reason why I've been able to also grow is because we also open our shell. So that's another thing we do. So we allow nonprofits and businesses and Title Ones to come in and host events. Then they're able to host events, then through those sales of the events. So they'll bring in their own communities, they'll come and shop and we'll clear a lot that night, and they get 20% of those proceeds to go back to their mission, their schools, their projects, their scholarships, whatever it is that they're actually promoting that night in their event. Like last night we had an event, we supported the animal shelter. So it's one of those, it's really cool because not only do we get the traffic throughout the night, throughout the Tuesday through Saturday 10 to 6 that we're open, but we also, if you go to our calendar, you'll see we have massive events up, and those events are always going to be at least 4 to 5 events so we always have 1 to 2 events every week, which is clearing our calendar. So that means we're bringing in the outside community strictly just for those shopping hours to learn about us and grow with us. That's
That's
also
very
how
cool.
we acquire partners.
Yeah, very nice. What's a current customer? What's the demographics look like? Do you have data on that right now?
Yeah, we actually have demographics. It's really cool, the demographics. Obviously, it's more women as far as shopping in store, but we have demographics of men and women from all ages. The nice thing about it, too, is that the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas underneath us are actually going to be the biggest thrifters. They are the ones that are actually going to be taking over the thrifting. They actually recycle about 85% between their own community. So what I like is that our demographics are kind of all over the board. I mean, we service women. I have women who I dress for DC who are our council ladies, so I have women that are all the way up in their 60s, 50 career women's, all the way down to ladies who are literally 15, 16 and just wanting to thrift. So it's really cool as far as that demographic. And then what I like is the fact that we are expanding. And when we expand, we're going to also start doing the men's section. Men is such an underrepresented community, and there's a lot of men who really can get serviced and need serviced. So yes.
Yeah. Very cool. Let's talk a little bit about what are marketing channels for you? What does it look like? Is it mostly on the local side? Is it the partnerships? Is it looking at social media? Just how do you guys sort of think about marketing, and what's your approach to it right now?
Thank you for asking. Yeah, marketing actually good for me. I've always had a big niche as far as when it comes to social media, but it's not just about social media. I mean, if you get all of our platforms and you put them together, we have over about close to 60,000 followers. So we do have a huge connection here in Colorado. And what I love is that whenever we do partner, and this is why I do the collaborations, our logos and our staple of our store is used on every flyer, dispersed through all of the nonprofits that they do their own communities. So we are dispersed there. We also are in local ads. I've also was top 3 women's store in How Best. So we always run in a lot of competitions, and we do rank very well. What I love also is that we also do our text messaging, of course, just like our normal, loyalty programs. We also have our marketing. But what I love is that I have created something. I have now turned so much butter that I am now to the point where I'm able to have the community investors, because now it's the point where I have done all this through just resale too. It's not selling products. It's not selling any of that. It's literally using the consumption of what we already have.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's amazing how much we are over consuming as a society right now.
But it's
What is
profitable and I love it.
Yeah, I agree. I hear you. I'm a classic thrifter myself over here. So, what are the biggest risks right now? If somebody asks you, like, what's keeping you up at night? What's the biggest risk? What makes you nervous about everything that you're working on?
I think that my biggest risk is just making sure that I'm just short staffed. And I think my biggest risk is I might get a huge donation or something, or a new business or nonprofit partner that's massive, that then it lets me know that, okay, I need to grow staffing wise too in order to keep up with that. But other
Sure.
than that, that's pretty much it that keeps me up. And then also making sure that I can get these stipends. I've been working really hard with the state to get stipends for the students, to figure out a way that I can keep the super seniors on past the recycling courses so they can work a little bit, and then we'll give them letters of employment. And that's another thing. So really for me, it's more evolving. It's how can I evolve a little bit more? What else can I do to give a little bit more? Or what can we do to add value to this? So like yesterday, I was speaking with a trade company where I might be able to trade goods for allotment pricing, to where then I can be able to use that pricing of the goods for stipends for the students. So it's learning to utilize my tools, my inventory, and figure out a way to keep the extra funnels going.
Sure. So everybody I talk to is obviously an entrepreneur. They're in the space, and almost everybody has a setback story. Do you have one that just, you didn't know if you were going to get through, or just something that really kind of just either pushed you off course and you had to sort of, pick yourself back up? Do you have a story like that you can share?
I do. Ended up having to actually ended up moving out of the location in Broadway. My mom ended up getting diagnosed with cancer. And it was 2020, and I had to shut down for a while, kind of go to her. And it took me almost a year and a half of just really reselling on the side and kind of doing the things I was doing out of the warehouse and working extra. I mean, I was working about 15-hour days every day, just plugging away at inventory so that I knew I wanted to reopen the brick and mortar. I just needed the way to do that. And also take care of my mother at the same time through her, chemo treatments. So at that time, I'm going to be honest, it was a dark cloud for about a year and a half. I didn't think I was going to be able to reopen another brick and mortar, but it was through the hustle, the grind. It was through literally no sleep. And it was through my thriving that I knew this was important. This is something so unique, so different. And the fact that I could do it through the power of just whatever we already are utilizing here, it just really showed me that, you know what, you can do this. And I did, and I reopened.
That's great. That's great. So right now you're fundraising. Your campaign's over on Honeycomb. So our listeners are out there. We're going to talk a little bit about that. How did you kind of come to the idea that you wanted to go to crowdfunding, maybe go to Honeycomb? Just what was some of the behind the scenes conversations that made you go that route?
Well, I am a huge football fan. But I started realizing that the Green Bay Packers are owned by their fans, right? It's the only NFL team that has investors. And so I started realizing, you know what? I'm a community store. Why can I not be owned by the community? Why can't the community have its own stakeholdership and show us, shape us, grow with us? Because we're not going anywhere. We are literally growing and growing and growing. And I'm going to take all of Colorado and hopefully have this. My ultimate goal is to have multiple, what is that word I'm looking, franchise, to have it franchised out in multiple different areas and in rural areas, because rural areas are very underrepresented when it comes to kind of getting funding and products like that. So for me, it was more about let's be community owned. If we're a community store, let's have the community back us. Let's be owned by our shoppers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so,
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, from everything you're describing, it makes sense. Like it feels like a real natural next thing to go to in terms of fundraising in general. Have you done any other fundraising behind the scenes, or has it all been just through resale? Any other fundraising at all that you've done?
no, I actually it's funny because I sit on a couple nonprofit boards, so I do a lot of fundraising for them, but honestly, no, it has been through massive for me. I have learned it's collaboration, partnerships, and sales. That is how we have grown. So it has been through the grind of just literally reselling everything that comes to the store. And for me, we don't sit on it. We are not here to, do that. We are here to push it out, to keep up with the influx, to keep up with the outflux. So yes, no, it has been through that model that I have been extremely successful, but it's collaboration is key.
I guess when you're thinking about collaboration or partnerships, is there criteria in your mind that you're thinking of so that you know that you're finding people with the right fit, so that you're not wasting time, barking up the wrong tree and going, that was not the right fit for us? How do you sort of think about that in your mind?
Don't get me wrong. There's been a couple companies where we're like, okay, yeah, that was not a good partnership. But no, I have learned to vet, I have learned to actually ask important questions to executives. I have learned to be like, what is your community needs? Tell me about your community data. Like you, I'm data driven. So I like to get the data first. And then once I get the data, then I'm able to go and I'm able to get the community. Then I'm able to understand that community. And once I understand that community, then I understand what we can do. And then together we thrive. But it's understanding your partner. It's really asking those tough questions. Like, what is it that your community needs? Who is it that you service? How is this going to benefit both of us? At the same time, it's asking those tough questions. And sometimes people don't have that. And to be honest, in business, especially being a woman of color, you have to have tough skin. You have to.
Yeah. How has that journey been? I have interviewed. I have to imagine that is just another sort of, road that has to be navigated, just has to kind of probably let a lot of things run off your back a little bit and just take a deep breath, I'm assuming. Maybe talk us through a little bit about for people like yourself, how do you sort of navigate that? Just some ridiculousness at the end of the day.
Yes. And don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? There are times when I come through the room and you can tell, especially, see, I sit on a few chambers. So I've been through a bunch of chambers and galas and events like that. And it's funny when people be like, oh, I don't understand, or they don't understand resale. They don't understand e-com. So because they don't understand it, they like to be a little ignorant to it. And I just kind of look at it. And for me, I've always learned to kill them with kindness. You catch more bees with honey than you do anything else. So I have just learned to be like, okay, you know what? Your ignorance is here and I'm just going to leave you there. But it's so nice to meet you. And then later on in the future, what's hilarious is some of them have had come back because they were like, oh, I do need your services, or we do need to collaborate because you are a good, footprint. So for me, I've learned if I just let the universe bless its blessings, sometimes they just get those ignorant people back to me. And then I'm like, okay, and then the respect comes into play. But honestly, it's respect. It's learning to walk with the confidence, knowing that I'm old school. My word is bond. When I shake my hand, that is a contract. That is something that I need to make sure I fulfill and see. And the one thing with with entrepreneurs is they got to understand this is something that you got to live and breathe. This is literally your footprint. And if you cannot treat it as and respect it, your business as yourself, then you are not to be in business.
Yeah. This time next year, what's the biggest, growth you want to see or the biggest milestone? But what does this next year look like that you're really hoping to achieve in terms of growth right now?
Well, by the time December 8th comes and this honeycomb is finished, we are hopefully not only going to be added the additional suite with the extra space for that, but also to grow 2 more Title Ones. There's about a couple more nonprofit Title Ones that have super seniors that I've been looking to also acquire. So
Okay.
acquire a couple more schools under our belt, acquire a couple more partners. Like I just hooked up with the nurses union here in Colorado, so I'm trying to expand more into the hospitality kind of world there.
Hmm.
Also, not only just that, but also have the commercial vehicle. That is going to be the hugest weight for us because we are working out of our cars and sometimes we have massive hauls. And to get to people who really do love our mission, but they can't get to us either because they're handicapped or they have other ways that they cannot get to us. So having that ability to have that mobility as far as mobileness will allow us to grow even more.
That's awesome. Well, where should people dive in? They're listening to this. They're inspired. They're feeling your energy and your mission. Where should we send people if they want to dive in?
If they want to dive in, just go to www.GGirlsCloset.net. Literally, our investment honeycomb is up there. We are on the platform for the next 26 days. This is something so unique, so valuable. And I'm just going to tell you this, the power of resale is only going to grow. E-com is not going anywhere. It's only going to get bigger. Anybody who's in the tech space knows this. There are going to be plenty more resale apps that come out. Not only that, it is the next generation that we are passing the baton down to. So if we are not here to educate them and give them those little life skill nuggets, then what are we doing? And that's my goal, is to give them those life skill nuggets, give them that ability to understand the overconsumption, but also at the same time branch this to multiple states, not just Colorado. We are a pioneer state, but I would love to grow this out nationwide, as this is such a unique pillar. And I feel like there's so many more companies that can benefit from this service.
That's amazing. Well, Patricia, I appreciate you taking time out of your day. You're busy, got a lot going on. This is a great conversation. For all my listeners out there, you guys have probably been here before. You go in the show notes. We've got our links, clicks, go there, dive in, check out what they're working on, and maybe make sure you guys go over to Honeycomb too and look at the deal.
And not just that, help us become that community-owned store. Let us be that first for-profit boutique here in Colorado to be owned by you guys. Let's be owned by our fans. Let's do that. And then let's grow this even more into other sectors so that other community owners can also own things as well like this.
Yeah, it is amazing and perfect for crowdfunding, perfect for this interview. Again, appreciate you taking time out of your day. Thanks so much.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Talk soon.